Growing up, I was the weird, shy kid at school. I only talked when the teacher asked me to and stayed silent whenever I didn't find the need to talk. I hated school. I hated having to make friends. And I hated how school revolved around making friends. I was the kid who got left out whenever we had to group together for projects or pair up during field trips. And I used to wonder, how did the other kids find it so easy to make friends, to come up to someone who you don't know anything about and start talking to them? That question kept playing in the back of my mind ever since my first day of kindergarten. Hello, my name is Engku Qistina Batrisyia from MARMAR, and I am here to present a speech titled Strength Within Silence. I used to hate my personality. I thought if only I was more outgoing, then surely everyone would want to be friends with me. But then, one day, when I was younger, a video popped up on my YouTube recommendation. The title was, "What is an introvert? Are you one?" And of course, being the curious 10-year-old that I was, clicked on the video. That day, I learned that an introvert was someone who feels more comfortable focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas rather than what's happening externally. And let me tell you, at that moment, it felt like all of my questions and thoughts were answered. I finally found out who I am. I am an introvert. I felt like climbing up to the roof of my house and yelling to my whole neighborhood that I was an introvert. It truly was that big of a revelation for me. And I wish I could say that was it. I figured out my identity and learned to love myself. But I would be far from the bitter truth. I learned to put a label on myself, but I didn't learn how to accept myself. Day by day, when I went to school, I still resented myself. I didn't like the fact that I sat alone at the lunch table. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't feel comfortable talking to my classmates whom I barely knew. And I didn't like the fact that I always sat at the very front of the class just so I wouldn't have to talk to the kids sitting in front of me. My life felt like a windless fight. The more I resisted my introverted nature, the more people gravitated away from me. No matter how hard I tried, I could never win. It was like a twisted knife was buried in my body. If I left it in, the pain would be too unbearable. But if I pulled it out, I would bleed to death. They say that birds of a feather flock together, but I didn't have a flock. I was a single lonely robin out in this cruel, harsh world. But when I stopped trying, stopped caring, stopped bothering to change myself in order for others to accept me, I felt liberated. To say that it was an easy process would be nothing but a big fat lie. I struggled and struggled, but it was worth it. I ceased trying to make other people love me, but started to make me love myself. It was like I finally learned how to fly. The little robin wasn't so helpless anymore. I started pointing out the things I did like about my personality. How I was very observant whenever somebody spoke. How I always think before I speak. And how I could come up with the most creative ideas to solve a problem. Solitude, which once felt unbearable to me, became the part of my day that I loved the most. Suddenly, silence stopped becoming a torture chamber, which I would beat myself up for being too quiet, too shy, too reserved. but it became a place where I can articulate my most deepest thoughts and ideas in the comfort of my own mind. And for the first time in my life, I made long-lasting friendships with the most loyal and caring individuals. In conclusion, I learned that I could never change myself. I'll always be a bit too shy to ever approach the new kid in class, and I'll always be a bit too reserved to ever be the popular kid at school. But I do know that I don't have to be any of that. I didn't need to be the class clown or be a social butterfly. Having confidence in myself was enough. Being myself was enough. Confidence isn't thinking that everybody will love you. It's being okay, even if they don't. So I hope my speech today could give closure to any of you, dear viewers, who's always felt like you weren't enough, like you weren't good enough, like you weren't loud enough, that you weren't eye-catching enough. You are enough. Thank you.